The first time I realized my life was built on a lie was the night my daughter asked me a simple question. "Mom, why doesn't Grandma ever come to visit us?" Her voice was innocent, curious, the way children ask questions without knowing they're about to shake your entire world. I was standing in the kitchen of our small house in Texas, washing dishes after dinner, the sound of running water filling the silence. I froze. My mother had been dead for 12 years. At least, that's what I believed, what I had been told, what I had accepted without questioning because the truth felt too heavy to carry. I turned off the tap and knelt in front of my daughter, forcing a smile. "She lives very far away," I said. My daughter nodded, satisfied, and ran back to her room. But I wasn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. Memories I had buried long ago started to surface. My childhood felt blurry now, like a photograph left too long in the sun. I remembered foster homes, different faces, different rules, different beds. I remembered being told not to ask questions, and most of all, I remembered the woman who gave me up. Or at least, that's what I thought she did. My name is Rebecca Hayes. I'm 38 years old. I'm a single mother, a survivor of an abusive marriage, and someone who spent most of her life believing she was unwanted. That belief shaped everything. It shaped the men I trusted, the love I accepted, the fear of being left behind. 2 weeks after my daughter asked that question, I received a letter in the mail with no return address. Inside was a single sentence written in shaky handwriting. "I never abandoned you." My hands started trembling. I read it again, and again. There was an address at the bottom. I didn't tell anyone. Not my sister, not my friends, not even my daughter. Something inside me knew that once I followed that address, there would be no going back. The drive took 6 hours. I crossed state lines, watched the city fade into open roads and empty fields. With every mile, my chest felt tighter, like my body already knew what my mind was trying to deny. The address led me to a small nursing home in rural Louisiana. The building smelled like disinfectant and old memories. A nurse looked at me with curiosity when I gave her the name written on the letter. "She's been asking for you," the nurse said quietly. My legs felt weak as she guided me down a long hallway. She stopped in front of a door and knocked softly. "Rebecca is here," she said. A voice from inside whispered, "Please, let her in." When I stepped into the room, time seemed to slow. The woman lying on the bed looked frail, her skin pale, her hair thin and gray. But when her eyes met mine, something undeniable passed between us. Recognition, connection, pain. She started crying before I could say a word. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I looked for you for years." My throat burned. "You left me," I said. "I grew up thinking you didn't want me." She shook her head weakly. "They took you." Her name was Margaret Collins. She was 22 when she had me. A waitress, poor, alone. My father was married, powerful and desperate to protect his reputation. When she refused to stay quiet, he used his influence, police, courts, paperwork that disappeared. "They told me I was unfit," she said. "They said you'd have a better life without me." I felt anger rise inside me, sharp and suffocating. "So you just let them?" she cried harder. I fought. God knows I fought, but I lost. She reached for a small box on the table beside her bed and opened it. Inside were photographs, letters, a hospital bracelet with my name on it, every birthday card she wrote and never sent. "I never stopped being your mother," she said. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. Instead, I sat down and cried like I hadn't cried since I was a child. Margaret was dying. Liver failure. Months at best. I visited her every day. We talked about everything. My childhood, my mistakes, my marriage, the night my ex-husband broke my ribs and told me no one would ever love me because I was broken. Margaret listened, tears streaming down her face. "He was wrong," she said. "You were never broken. You were wounded." One afternoon, she told me the truth she had been hiding. "Your father knows where you are," she said. My heart dropped. "What?" "He's been watching your life from a distance. He knows about your daughter." Fear crawled up my spine. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want him to hurt you again," she said, "but I don't have much time left, and you deserve to know." She gave me a name. It was a name I recognized immediately. He was a respected businessman, donor, family man, the kind of man people trusted, the kind of man who built his success on other people's silence. I left the nursing home shaking. That night, I couldn't sleep. I watched my daughter breathe, her chest rising and falling, and realized how easily my life could have followed a completely different path. I started digging, court records, old newspaper articles, other women, and I wasn't the only one. There were at least 4 others. Same pattern, same threats, same outcomes. Margaret hadn't been weak, she had been silenced. I faced a choice: stay quiet, protect my fragile peace, or speak. Margaret died 3 weeks later. At her funeral I stood alone, but I wasn't empty. I contacted a journalist. I shared everything: the letters, the documents, the names. The story exploded. Investigations followed. Lawsuits, public outrage. My father denied everything at first. Then he tried to intimidate me. Then he offered money. I refused. The truth doesn't need permission. When he was finally arrested, my daughter asked me why people were shouting his name on the news. I looked at her and said, "Because sometimes bad people pretend to be good." She nodded, absorbing more than I expected. Months passed. The fear faded. The guilt faded. And something unexpected grew in its place: strength. I visited Margaret's grave on my birthday. I placed fresh flowers and sat quietly. "I forgive you," I whispered, "not because you were wrong, but because you were brave." I realized then that healing doesn't mean erasing the past, it means standing in it without letting it define you. I drove home with the windows down, sunlight on my face, my daughter laughing in the back seat. For the first time in my life, I felt whole. Not because my story was perfect, but because it was finally mine.